Raised by Wolves, Season 2, Episode 4, Control. This is a fantastic episode. We got some big things to talk about. Spoilers up ahead. We're going to be theorizing and talking about the episode. You've been warned.
Hey everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. Check out AsArt.space for all the audio and video links for all the different content we have. And so we have a pretty fun episode. Some things that Nick had talked about that he thought were coming back from season 1 that I had kind of forgotten about. And then some stuff that we had kind of thought were coming in from season 2 so far. Then some things that were kind of new as well. So Nick, do you want to start us off with this?
Yes. One thing, I'm going to go straight into spoiler territory right away, but I'm going to talk about snake DNA. Snake DNA, because I think Paul has been infused with the serpent's DNA. And he's going to be a hybrid, like, serpent human. Because if you looked at his eyes, he got, like, snake eyes.
Yeah, he got
before it closed.
Eyes, yeah.
And then, like, he kind of looks like scales. So I'm like, and then the previous episode, she was uploading the blood sample to the truth, right? Remember how she was like uploading the blood, and that's when she also found out the whole 6-month thing, John, where she was like, "Oh yeah, 6 months ago, break." But they uploaded the DNA, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Take back your snake," you know, or you're not your snake, your mouse. I'm sorry. And we had the whole mouse theory. Like, what are they doing with the mouse? It's because it freaking is a snake bomb.
A snake bomb. Yeah, it was kind of funny because the whole weapon bomb thing with the mouse and the kids kind of happened really early on in the episode.
Yeah.
And then you saw like his iris kind of go weird with the snake, kind of look. And then from then on, I kind of got the feeling that this was something that had happened, in this world before. Is there's this weird infectious thing that makes them cocoon up like that. I mean, it looks like he's in a cocoon and, Mother was saying it's infecting his cells. It's like something that's known. So that made me think that it was like a known thing that's happening, but it made it sound like he was just dying the way they were talking about it. But then it looks like from his eyes and then also like that he's in this thing, it doesn't look like he's dying. So it's kind of interesting for us to try and think of where it's going with that. Yeah.
But honestly, I think, remember we were talking about the biblical stuff last episode. So like this can also be a biblical thing too, because maybe he's now the serpent to the, maybe not like that physical serpent, but like he's going to have some kind of, and it's look, did you watch the trailer at the end of the episode, John?
I never can find these
mystical
trailers.
So the trailer at the end, the trailer at the end, you have a great moment with Sue, like stressing out, like almost like ready to pray to save Paul, right? Like she's like, in this faith. And then you see her like dragging out someone to the desert and she pulls out a knife. And it was so funny because I talked to you about maybe we'll get like an Abraham sacrificing someone for their faith kind of thing. Maybe she's going to start hearing the voice. We've been talking about, there's so many biblical references in the show, right? And one of them, which I thought they might be used with Marcus's storyline to prove his faith to Saul, was the Abraham story where he's told to sacrifice his son to show his loyalty to Saul or something like that. But there was also a teaser in this episode too, where Marcus made it sound like, maybe Sue's going to come to Saul eventually. Remember there's like that discussion with him and Paul.
You never know.
You never know. So we might see some fun stuff with that, like biblical stuff, but we'll see. But I believe he has the serpent's DNA in him, and he's going to be like a hybrid human serpent robot, whatever, android of craziness. But I mean, I can see it going that way with the show. So I can definitely see it. But now I really want to talk about Marcus. I really want to talk about Marcus.
So you're saying he's going to be a robo-serpent Terminator is what you're saying. He's going to be slithering around going, yeah, like some of that stuff.
Yes, exactly.
But it is the type of thing where they gave you a little hint. It was just a slight moment right when, he was changing, where you got the serpent eyes. That's the type of thing that they would do in a show, to where when they do the reveal later on, they could say, we did give you a hint and you'll remember it when you see it, but it wasn't, so that's the type of thing I could see a show doing for sure,
And then now we got to talk about Marcus. It's 100% confirmed. I was right. Power's coming from the eyes.
Which is funny because Nick and I had been kind of talking about, and if you guys have seen our previous episode reviews, the big thing that we've really found surprising about HBO Max is they don't do, previously on Game of Thrones, and they show stuff that's relevant to the particular episode they're headed into. So in this, we haven't really got that. Now, them talking about the eyes would have been a little bit too much of a, giveaway to this. But I remember in that episode when they did the eyes, like he had some weird milky stuff coming out the side of his mouth when they stuck the eyeballs. And so I thought those were more like biological soft eyeballs. And it's like, I remember when I saw it, I was like, ew, the eyeballs popped when they put them in his mouth. But then when Mother was retrieving the eyeballs, they were almost like marbles, and she like pulled them out like magnets. I was like, marbles. That's not what I remember them being like in season 1. But okay,
I just knew it. I just knew that the powers had to come from the eyes. In my head, it was so obvious. But one thing though that I don't know.
Let me ask you. I'm curious if you remember from season 1. Did he was hearing the voices before the eyes got stuck down his throat, right?
And then he stopped hearing the voices, and then he started going crazy. Because he wanted to hear the voices again. Remember, like he like lost the power, and that's a perfect lead into what I was going to talk about. He's having the same story arc in this season again. It's the same freaking story where he like rises to power. First season he's able to hear the voices and he gets the followers and stuff. This season, like he has the eyes, so he's like he's able to resist physically, and he has like the warmth of soul because he's probably getting radiated from the inside from the eyes. And then but like it's the same story arc now, because now he lost his power. So is he gonna go on a downward spiral again? It's like almost hitting the same stories beats as the first season, where I was like, okay, but we'll see where it goes, because in the trailer it looks awesome because you see a hexagon shape like we see with the head and the alien. He enters a hexagon shape and he gets lowered into a hole. So it's like, dang, this is cool, because like maybe we're finally going to get some lore on the planet again, because I feel like we haven't been talking about the planet at all in season 2. It's been more like theories about this robot and other stuff, but not planet theories. And I feel like hopefully next episode, John, we're going to get a lot of answers with the planet. We can talk about the creature. So we finally saw a creature like we saw from the first season, but this creature came out of the water.
And we're assuming that's what destroyed that camper full of humans, that lives in the water, the acid water.
Yeah, but we see the human. They're not the human. It could be a de-evolved form of humans, like they mentioned in the first season, which still doesn't make sense to me. The idea of de-evolved. I don't know if anything can de-evolve. You're still evolving, but you're evolving in another way. Anyways, that term they use in the show has always been so confusing to me. But I also want to talk about Viral. We're going to talk about Viral's story. I don't think she's dead, because she jumped off the cliff, and the whole scene with her and her mom, it was intense, but I didn't have a connection to them yet. Like, I understand what their backstory is, but I don't know if we've seen them enough on screen to actually have a great connection to these characters. But then she jumps off, which I think is kind of stupid on their part to get rid of the only android they have. I feel like an android would be so helpful.
Yeah.
But what'd you think of that? Do you think she's coming back? Do you think she's gone? Because she dropped the knife thing right there.
Yeah, that was the biggest takeaway I took from that whole scene. And they definitely had some shots focus in on that, as there's this knife thing that kind of is supposedly important to story, and they show that, and then that's what they use to kind of carve mom uses to carve up her android daughter, and then without thinking about it, that's that kind of gets dropped. So that, at least as a storytelling device, tells me that the daughter android, her story is not done, because I think clearly we're going to come back around to that piece, that blade, and so indirectly we're going to come back to her as well, whether they go looking for the blade and they come around to her, or they're going to come around to her and in that way they're going to find the blade again. I'm assuming that's going to happen. But
what if she kills her mom with the blade?
What's that?
What if she kills her mom with the blade? You know what I mean? That's totally possible. She left the blade there. You know what I mean? Or, what's going to be funny? They're going to get to like this door and they're going to need like a key. He's going to be like, oh, where's that magical blade I gave you? She's going to be like, blade?
And it's just kind of funny because they did bring up again, are you going to break my neck again? And she's like, like she got really mad about that. I was like, so they are. So I would imagine, for sure their story's not over, because again, they alluded to that story plot, kind of beat, and they didn't discuss it more. So it would make sense that it's going to come back to that. And, they they showed her die, but she's also an android, and we've already seen, mother and father, kind of in death type stuff before and coming back.
And Campion also talked to father about that too. We can move your memories to a different robot and stuff like that.
And so let me ask you, so when Campion was going to be killed by the other guy, the guy that had the gun pointed at him, and he saw that floating, deity type, do you think that was that other robot? I thought it was the girl that was floating. Like, I thought she was some special android and she was appearing for the first time. But now that we saw at the end of that last episode, I'm assuming it was the other.
I'm assuming it was the same robot too. Because we know the milk, or was it called milk, or the stuff that they drink, the liquid fluid thing? It looks like milk, but the milk he pours on her, the thing he won, which everyone's ears are broken from the cheering or whatever, the joke he said. But it gets absorbed, and then we get the rest of the scene, and I'm guessing it's pretty chronologically in order, the way these shots are and stuff. So I'm assuming it was that robot, but why the robot was there to save them, which is, I don't know why. I mean, I don't know because I don't think milk transfers memory, but I don't know if like she's gonna have a little bit of father's memory because he was the first milk that was given or something like that. I don't know how that stuff works, but I think father still might die next episode because I think he sealed his fate. But I think it's good though. We have this mysterious robot, which people in the comments, thank you so much. Grandmother. That's what it's casted on as IMDb and stuff. That's the name of this new character. Probably the new android is called the Grandmother. But I feel like this is going to be maybe the 1.0 version of the Necromancer, and then Mother is the 2.0 version. Like she's the upgraded version, because remember the scriptures is what it was in the scriptures on how to build these Necromancer robots, right? It was passed down throughout the years. This was all season one stuff, right? Yeah. I'm sorry.
Season one?
Yeah, okay. I know. So sorry, John. I'm throwing some heavy stuff on you right now. But that was all season one stuff, right? And then at the end of season one, remember there was the cave, and it was almost predicting the whole story with the snake, and they were coming back with the new eggs or the human fetuses or whatever, like at the beginning, and showed all the stuff. So like this could have been the original Necromancer before they built the other ones on our planet, not on Kelper 22B. So it's weird. I know it's all out there and I don't have answers. Trust me, if I did, I would tell you guys, but I do not have answers. I'm just like connecting two and two together, trying to make sense of all this, which I'm not. I'm probably doing a bad job. But, the one thing that was funny was the AI bird robot controlling thing. But but do you think, because they showed it, do you think they're going to ever get to that? You think she's going to start controlling humans or animals at that level, you think, in the future? Or do you think it was just like a joke? Like, let's have the bird fly and die.
I mean, sometimes good movies will have scenes that are just about character development, right? Because it is important. But typically, even in a seasonal episodic series, everything on screen has a purpose to it, and she gives very specific reasons why she's doing this. It's not like they're just having story developing dialogue, and what they're doing is not important. Like, what she's doing is what the dialogue's about, and so that she's working on that, I feel like is important. And whether it's used for the serpent or something else, I think, remains to be seen. But I would imagine that is going to get used at some point.
Okay.
And so it'll be interesting to see how it's used. But yeah.
And then the last thing we got to talk about is the truth dying. The truth has died.
I wanted to ask too. So Paul had kept referring to himself, and so we do have Paul has heard voices, right? So Campion thought he saw a soul because he saw that floating, deity-looking thing, but we're assuming that's Grandmother.
Yes.
And then we have Marcus
Soul
that has
hasn't
heard voices.
Soul hasn't showed himself physically yet to anyone.
Yes, yeah.
We've only heard voices.
But again, even though people have interpreted it as being soul, right? So just kind of how it's interpreted.
It could be the truth or whatever. The planet. Or also another theory I have. The planet's a giant living robot. Go on.
But so Paul has kept referring to himself as special in some way or another. And
as
so,
the prophecy.
You were saying
because it's the orphan prophecy.
As far as he is the there's a serpent, obviously in biblical, there's serpents and things like that. Maybe he is important in that biblical prophecy because he becomes that serpent that they thought the flying serpent, mother's, serpent is like the key or whatever, right? To access the tree, right? Is that how it was? Or
it could be because, exactly. Marcus thought it can be used as the sword.
Yeah, the sword. That's right.
Because that's all part of the prophecy and stuff like that. Yeah.
So Nick and I have really enjoyed, because we were talking about, it's like, this series, more than any other series of episodes we've done, gets a lot of the longest and the most interesting comments. And I think it is partially because, like Alien movies and Prometheus, they leave a lot of things open-ended, and they leave a lot of things to be, conversed about. But I still can't completely decide if I like that or not, because it's like, okay, I hope you close those threads eventually. And as long as you do, then I'm completely okay with that. But I'm not sure if they're going to. Like, do you like that there's so many odd things going on that we might not get answers for? Or do you just
because it can continue longer. I feel like if we get all the answers now, the show won't be as entertaining. I think one of the best parts about this show is like the big left-hand turns and like the pregnant snake baby thing. Like no one saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see a snake baby coming. But
I think at the end of season 1, you and I were like, WTF was what was that? We were like, okay, I guess we're gonna watch season 2. That got really weird though. Now season 2, we're completely excited and enjoying it, but it's not about that weird snake arc that we had. Thankfully they've gone back to kind of, I feel like is their bread and butter. But yeah, the snake got weird. But I get what you're saying.
Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the truth, because supposedly, remember, they're created by the same person, Campion, which is the name of their programmer too, which is also the name of the kid.
I forgot that.
Yeah, I forgot that. It's going to get confusing right now, but as it is, it already is confusing. But so remember how they had like the same programmer and they're like calling themselves like brothers or sisters or whatever. And basically,
she finished his line when he was being unplugged,
which was a line she said too in season 1. When she was,
which she said in season 1. Oh, the architect guy.
Well, no, in season 1, well, yeah, but I think she said it to Temptress when she was pregnant or something like that. Anyway, I'm pretty sure she said that in the first season. But yes, she finishes each other's sandwiches, and then that's like the joke, right? Instead of saying sentences. But so is she doing what's best for the human race? No. She's doing what's best for her kids. Like, she's probably the worst leader to have right now, because her only goal is to save her children.
Well,
right?
That's what's funny. The whole time she was talking, like, I thought it was kind of a dumb monologue she was having that she was spouting. It's like, okay, you're programmed very intelligently. And she's like, how can we think so differently if we're programmed by the same person? I'm like, because you were programmed for a very specific task, and this, truth was programmed for a overall task. Yeah. It's like, that's not that hard to understand. It's like, I mean, at least it makes sense, but...
And it's also true because we don't know which one he designed first. So he could have designed the truth first for the atheist, and then maybe when he broke off later on, he got the necromancer or whatever, then he reprogrammed, her, and then we know she has to be one of the last ones, because I feel like they sent her off when he was about to get destroyed or something like that.
Yeah, that was almost like a 11th hour near the end of destruction type thing. So, but that doesn't mean she's programmed better. It just means she was programmed differently. Like, exactly. She had a singular goal where he had a overall goal.
And then, because remember, the truth is designed to be the leader of the atheists, right? And it's so interesting because maybe his role wasn't even meant to be outside of planet Earth. Maybe the whole thing was after they win the war, he would take over on planet Earth. But then they moved him, because you never know what's the future is going to hold, kind of thing. And they move him on this big journey, and now he's at this planet. So do you think he's going to come back? Yes, because I feel like anyone can just pop in those battery things again.
That's what I thought too. I thought he was just being shut down. But when the guy came in, that soldier guy, and he just sounded like it was such a final type thing, like, oh no, like he was, and it looked like it was almost like biological cells that had blackened, like, and died. I'm like, oh, is it dead or is it just a machine? So again, is this kind of like a half biological, half, mechanical thing, or is this,
as long as there's a USB backup somewhere?
It was clever. All right, it was clever.
But Campion's mentioned it before. We can always upload you to a new robot, or a new Android or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's not the beauty about technology, but you can easily get the program and do it again. There could be a backup somewhere, and obviously I don't know what you need for a power source. Maybe you need a giant snake or whatever, to power it back up, but.
Part of me was curious, and whether this becomes a factor at all or not, I'm curious to see. But at the very end of this episode, Father's looking at grandmother. We're just assuming the name is grandmother, and his eyes flicker almost like something's happening to him. And I was like, if that happened with him, with Father, and this thing was around the other android, I'm assuming it would have seen Truth as well. It's like, okay, did this thing take parts or influence all these things? And it definitely, there's a lot of ways, the writing could go from here. And I'd be very curious to see how this is going to be integrated into the overall story. It could be, like you said, more of a necromancer type thing that's a weapon, or it could be more of it's going to be very interesting how they incorporate this all in. Yeah. But so do you think Truth comes back, or do you think it's dead? The way that they had the whole colony falling apart and everybody going, I feel like it's dead, but I felt like it was like a system.
No, that loyal guy's still around. Maybe once the loyal follower dies, then it's completely dead. But as long as there's a follower like Marcus, the belief can live on, right? You just need a prophet, or, that's all you need technically, right? You just need someone to carry the message or the program to the next thing. So
but the whole thing was that this thing made the decisions for them, and there was no human error in the decision. So it's like that. Now
they got a new rot making decisions for them. Mother. What's the song from the Who? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
All right, guys. So clearly Nick and I are having a lot of fun with season 2 and trying to figure out all the many different ways this could go. Obviously, this is us just having fun, having a conversation about this, and that's where all of you come in as well, because we'd love to hear your thoughts. We've gotten some great thoughts on the current episodes up to this point, on where you think it's going to go every week. Pretty much every day we're on there, just kind of curious to see where you guys all think this is going to go. Let us know what you think is going to happen with this. Have you been really satisfied with season 2? Do you think it's picked up where season 1 left off? Do you think it's feeling disconnected? Very curious to hear. Thank you very much for watching. Check out AsArt.space for all the audio and video links, and we'll see you on the next AsArt. Exploding Mice.